All right, so good morning. How's everybody doing today? Day 2. Been a great event so far? Everyone got a lot of good information, great stuff? Wow, it's a quiet bunch. Come on, I'm not the right session right after breakfast. Everybody had their coffee, everyone ready to go? Let me introduce myself. I'm Michael Beck. I run the program management team, which is a team of engineers that does Windows CXE. To simplify what I do, I'm the guy that pushes all those patches to you and reboots your machines. So if you like servicing, I'm your guy. If you don't like servicing, my boss will be here in a little bit, and he sits up front. Joined my partners in crime today in front are Terry Piquet and Helen Harps. They're part of the team that work along here, and as we get Q&A at the end, they may help us as well. Got some exciting stuff to talk about today. Windows as a service, what does it mean for your business? So I'm an engineer, I'm an engineering guy. I look at this slide and I say, well, duh. The world's changing, right? In a rapid rate like you've never seen before. IT is faced with devices and BYOD and new server requirements and the cloud and the world is just changing. The experiences and expectations of your users to get new capabilities on their client devices, to be able to bring arbitrary client devices onto your networks, to be able to connect arbitrary client devices to your services is at an all-time high, and it's only getting faster. You know, it used to just be the vice president executive jewelry. Now it's everybody. It's the admins. Everybody needs access and how you do things. So the world is really changing, and the old model we developed Windows in requires some change. So things we've heard about from you, challenges when it comes to adopting Windows or accepting change in your infrastructure. So some of these are pretty obvious. Upgrades break apps, line of business apps, drivers, printers, compatibility. You need time to test, to validate changes before you deploy them broadly. Train up help desk support potentially. Your vendors, oftentimes, if you have software that requires certification, such as bank software, point of sale software, accounting software, tax software, you may have vendors that aren't ready to service and support the new capabilities that are being deployed in your environment. They need to certify their software. You need more notifications, time to plan. You need to be able to actually say, hey, what's coming and how do I adopt it? What's my time to absorb it and what's my time to require it? How many of you guys are on 8.1 in your infrastructure? Probably not a whole lot of you. Good, got a couple around. Oh, more than I thought, good. Well, we surprised people with S14 last spring update, Windows 8.1 update 1. We call it S14 internally, Spring 14 up release. But it was the 8.1 update 1. And we've learned a lot about time to plan, time to adopt, and what does that really take. These other ones are fairly obvious, but you need to stay secure, utmost. Your infrastructure needs to be ready and right for everybody. So we have these two challenges, and for those of you who were in Jim Alcove's presentation yesterday, you saw this slide, and it really does hold true. On one dimension, we have agility. I have customers who in the same meeting yell at me about how they need capabilities, they need features, they want them, they need that DCR, they need that bug fix. And then 2 minutes later telling me, but I don't want to take it now. I need time to test it. I need control. Don't throw it at me too fast. And so agility and control are just constantly in tension, constantly. That access to new technology versus stability. Quick to implement feedback, quick to fix my issues, quick to resolve core user scenario. But I want a long support cycle. I want to make sure ISVs have time to support. I need flexibility for mixed environments. All these things are in constant tension. And I think you guys probably live it every day. I mean, everybody kind of agree that every day you live that tension of your users want more, but you need stability and control. So when we think about Windows as a service and as a concept, it starts with what we think about consumer devices. And when we think about consumer devices, really it's the things that, you get updates installed via Windows Updates, as they arrive. So every day a consumer device is attached to Windows Update, and it gets updates when they're published. Most users today on Windows, consumers today, are configured this way. Windows has a cloud service called Windows Update. We push security fixes, feature capabilities, updates, a number of technology. We have hundreds of millions of customers that we service every single month. Every time I push a patch, it goes to almost 1 billion people worldwide. So it's consumed. This is a very, very common. Very large, diverse OS base helps drive quality. Hundreds of millions of devices on any one specific operating system. When we push a capability or patch, those customers are able to actually, that's a lot of validation. We know really quick if we're going to have a problem. We know if there's issues with that or we've broken compatibility because we have such a diversity of an ecosystem. And basically, BYOD devices, in the case where you have people who bring things into your enterprise, a device that's attached to Windows Update is always up to date. If they have automatic updates on their existing devices set, when they bring that into your corporate network, they're up to date. They have the latest security fixes because there's no delay. They get it, they've rebooted, and they have the latest. They're ready to go. They're secure and up to date. On the other side of the spectrum in our business, we have specialty systems, mission critical systems. Now, I use that word carefully because I know there's a certification for mission critical, but it's stuff that's really important. Air traffic control systems probably shouldn't be getting updates all the time. You want those things stable. Medical systems, bank software, things that require certification, tax, accounting software, those require some degree of stability. In fact, those devices' value to the business is oftentimes their stability and reliability. How many of you guys have those in your network? Mission critical systems? Almost everybody puts their hands up. How many people have consumer devices on your network? Yep. You see that all the time, kind of these two extremes. But we have these business users that are caught in the middle. They're not quite mission critical, but they're important. They need some degree of stability, some degree of planning and predicting, but they're not quite consumers because, if they get an update and your line of business app doesn't work, maybe that sale doesn't get transacted or that order doesn't get taken or, there could be a potential issue. Sometimes the word knowledge worker comes up, but that's very industry specific. But those business users in the middle are pretty important. So how do you treat business users? How do we want to think about it? You can treat them like consumer devices. Updates they get as they arrive. So there's a benefit to that. They're always up to date and they're always secure. That business user, they're up to date, secure. You didn't have to support them or have infrastructure to do it. They're ready to go. Updates have been delivered to the broad market, or haven't been delivered to the broad market yet. What that means is an update goes out and everybody gets it. It hasn't gone through, it's been tested internally, it's gone through a vetting process, which we'll talk about in a little bit later, but it really hasn't gone to those hundreds of millions of users. All the consumer devices kind of get it at once. You haven't had time to test and plan to make sure your line of business apps work, to make sure your printers are going to continue to work, that business worker user will still be aligned. And, is this really the best machine for your users? The best model? And it might be. Attaching to Windows Update is a very valuable thing, and it might be great for your users, depending on how your workforce is set up. And then you can treat, and this is what we see more commonly, you can treat all your consumer devices, all your devices that come in, treat those business users as special systems, mission critical. But that's expensive. You have to manage these things and have infrastructure. Your users typically get delayed before they get the latest security fixes, simply because there's a hop between your infrastructure and that device. They don't get access to the latest features they may need and require to do their job. And your competitors may be getting an advantage on you because your users are potentially behind other users. I meet with customers all the time that say, and it's becoming more true, as you bring young talent into a company, if you have dated software, it's a recruiting impact. You know, a lot of people that are coming out of college today have never run a Windows XP machine. Put that in context, right? Their whole career has maybe been Mac or been Windows 7 or been, you know, if you think about how they spent their time in college. And so the world moves quickly, and there's expectations from people. So Microsoft's recommendation is to treat them like the professionals they are. Update their devices, update their devices after features are validated by the broad market. We're going to talk about how we do that here in a little bit, but essentially, if you attach and deploy via Windows Update for Business, you actually get an opportunity to consume updates and changes after they've been adopted by the broad consumer market. So you get a little bit of time to validate, qualify those for your enterprise, and make sure they're ready to go. They're still delivered faster than going through your infrastructure because Windows Update will still manage and target those machines for you, Windows Update for Business. Your organization gets access to the latest technology and updates, and you have time to plan and verify and validate the release before it goes more broadly across your organization. So, as was talked about yesterday quite a bit, we're introducing Windows Update for Business. So WOOB. I don't know if that's an official word. Helen's gonna. But Windows Update for Business. Essentially, we created this notion called rollout rings. And a rollout ring is simply a validation group. It's a way in which you can define a set of your internal users or customers as validation rings to actually make sure that that is ready to go before it goes to the next validation ring or rollout ring. So you might have a group of users in your IT department that are kind of your canary ring. Microsoft has a canary ring. You're the canary in the coal mine. Is this a good update? Is this ready to go further? And then you might have a power user ring, early adopter ring, or you could maybe divide your rings across your businesses. Many people who use WSUS today do this similar function. They profile their users, and they manage this via WSUS. And that will still continue to work. What you do today will still continue to work. But this gives you a viable way in which you can remove the cost of connecting Windows 10 clients to expensive to manage infrastructure and still get some of that control and capability you need to deliver those updates specifically. So you have those rollout rings. You also have maintenance windows. I was on the bus yesterday with somebody, and he said, you know, the thing that annoys me most is I always defer my Patch Tuesday reboots till as long as possible, and on Friday as I'm going home from work, the machine makes me reboot. How many of you guys have run into that? Yeah. So the idea here is that maintenance window gives you the opportunity to define when do I take that update and when do I take the reboot. We need to support peer-to-peer delivery. And when I think about peer-to-peer, that's a technology that most of you are somewhat familiar with. But think about peer-to-peer a little differently. Network optimized. I hear from enterprise all the time, I can't connect my clients to Windows Update because on Patch Tuesday, you're going to hammer my network. You're going to go bring down a bunch of updates. I have 30,000 desktops, and you're going to kill my network performance. Well, this maintenance window gives you our peer-to-peer delivery, or that capability gives you the capability to manage and optimize for your network delivery. Download once, install many. The maintenance window gives you the opportunity to jitter the install time. You can also manage network throughput through your promotion through your rings, in that you can define validation groups and consumption time frames that are appropriate for your network. So you're in control even though you're connected to the Microsoft Cloud through Windows Update for Business. And of course, integration with your existing tools like System Center. If you have to verify security for a test for government agencies as to the security of your network or security of devices on your network, you actually have the ability to use your existing tool set to do that. I can use System Center to validate, verify, push group policy, and all the other things I need to do in addition to getting updates. But the actual cost of managing and delivering updates, Microsoft can do with Windows Update for Business. So one of the things we've been talking about a fair amount, since since the show started throughout is this market, and Jim talked about yesterday in his presentation, is market-driven quality. You know, external and internal. And market-driven by essentially this notion of rings or promotion. So internally at Microsoft, we have engineering builds. I'm in the Canary group at Microsoft. I get builds on some of my machines every day. Not every one of my machines, but a number of my machines. I get builds every day. Engineers build code, write code. It's compiled, assembled, builds put together. It's pushed out to me automatically. We then have a broad set of Microsoft internal validation. That's our IT department. We have business users across the company that on a less frequent basis than the Canaries will get a new build for validation. They will do their daily work on their systems that have this new capability deployed to it, these fixes, this technology. Once that has actually been verified internally, and you know, you're talking tens of thousands of users in our internal Microsoft rings, you then go to the Windows Insider Preview branch. How many of you guys are Windows Insiders? Oh, a few. If you're not a Windows Insider, go become a Windows Insider. Windows 10 is available. Great chance to go take a look at it and see what it's about. Windows Insiders have this notion of slow and fast. 2 rings today, and there was a little bit of discussion yesterday about how that'll continue to evolve. But a slow ring simply builds a little bit slower than the fast ring. So it goes to the fast ring first. These are customers that said, I want to see what you guys are up to sooner. I want to help verify and get that capability. We're going to give you feedback on those features. We're going to iterate, and we're going to push new builds out. Then we go to the slow ring. Slow ring are people that says, I want to see what you're up to, but I want more validation before it gets there. We have several million insiders, and that population will continue to grow. And again, all throughout this process, we're validating and verifying those updates and those features for quality and readiness to go to a broader market. Then we go to the current branch. Now we're talking hundreds of millions. These are your consumer users. These are your users that are on the internet with their devices attached to Windows Update. So now we've scaled up from dozens to tens of thousands to several million. Now we're at hundreds of millions of devices that have it deployed, and they're consuming it across the current branch. And then we define it as business ready. Now it's ready for your business to consume and start putting your plan together, the current branch for business, or CBB, and I might use that both ways throughout today's presentation. The current branch for business now has rings as well. These rings are great for validating and managed internally and defined by you. As I said, in this picture graphic, you see how you simply scale up by size. It goes to a smaller population, then a slightly larger population, then a slightly larger population, till it goes to everybody. You might choose to do things in parallel. You could say, I want to have this business unit and this business unit consuming things at a specific rate. You might decide to scale up the time of day for some people. You could do it by network optimization windows or maintenance windows, depending on the particular business. But you get that flexibility to define it. We think it's pretty common, though, for most businesses to have this notion that says, I'm going to build this notion of rings in my business. And that's really what this is demonstrating. I'm going to take a small set of customers, maybe my IT department or my power users, or the guy who cares the most will give us the most feedback. It might be 1 machine, it might be 100 machines, it might be 1,000 machines, depending on the size of your enterprise. But you're in control. Again, this can be done with WSUS and the tools you use today, just like it's always been done. But we're giving you an option to use Windows Update in a way you never could before to actually get the control you need to deliver quality while keeping your customers secure and up to date faster. So why might you choose Windows Update for Business? Well, it's more secure with latest updates. When you're attached to Windows Update, delivery's up to us. We're highly reliable and highly scalable. We deliver security updates to hundreds of millions of customers, and you can be your devices can be a part of that body as well. You have the ability to if you choose to control the deployment of that code within the deferral window for the branch. We'll talk about that more a little bit later. But within that deferral window, you're in control. You have the capability to test, verify, validate, make sure it's ready to go to the next ring, or go to all your users for broad deployment. Optimize bandwidth for your needs. A lot of control there. And then reduce management costs. It just makes sense. There's infrastructure today you provide to deploy to replicate Windows Update in your local network. And this is one way to give you a viable reason to actually say, you know what, I don't need that infrastructure. I can connect to the Microsoft Cloud, I can connect to Windows Update, and get my customers the updates and capabilities they need. There we go. So think about Windows 10 software update options kind of in this way. You have Windows Update, Woo, like it is today, great for consumer devices, BYOD scenarios, test machines. You know, this is what's out there. Customers get it. We deliver to hundreds of millions of customers every day. On the other spectrum, we have WSUS, or Windows System Update Services, which is what many of you have deployed today to deploy updates. Mission critical systems, systems where change management requires certification or additional scrutiny. That capability exists today, there's no problem. But now we have this option in the middle, which is Windows Update for Business. You can take your knowledge worker system, take your sales systems, and you can actually say, I can realistically attach those devices to Windows Update and get my customers the value they need in updates and security and quality without the cost of having to manage them. So if you think about the customer journey for business systems, I want you to think about kind of the activity as we've described this process. So, you know, we're always developing Windows. Windows is constantly being developed. If you're a Windows insider, become an insider, or have some of your population become an insider. This isn't just a pre-release kind of program. You can be an insider for a long time. Give us feedback. Give us feature requests. Windows is a service now. Give us capabilities you need. You don't have to wait 3 to 5 years for them anymore. Those capabilities are going to evolve at a much more rapid pace, like services do, like our customers demand. Feedback and asks. You know, if you once you have the preview branch deployed, now's a chance to give us specific feedback on performance, the feature, how it works. Does it break your app compat? I've had more questions this show so far about, will my so-and-so app work? My answer is yes. Have you tried it on Windows 10? Windows 10 is out there today. Go find out. And if it doesn't, now give us feedback, because we'll fix it. That's the model we work in, right? We're always in that constant model. Current branch, what do you want to do there? Well, there's your chance to deploy some of your users on the current branch to actually get the latest updates, features, and capabilities to your users, evaluate them, and give us feedback before we declare that ready for business in the current branch for business. And that's where you can stage your broad deployment, manage your rings, and get it ready for your enterprise. At each point, as an enterprise, you have an opportunity to participate in the process of delivering to all of your users, all the way from feedback to broad deployment. So let's talk about, for Windows 10, let's talk about application compatibility and deployment choices. App Compat, a couple key things we get asked a lot about Windows 10. Hardware requirements are unchanged. Essentially, since Windows Vista, minus a few unmanufactured chipsets, hardware has maintained compatibility since Windows Vista. And that continues moving forward into Windows 10, and we're continuing that promise to customers. Strong desktop app compatibility. Our expectation is if it worked in Windows 7, it will work in Windows 10. And you need to call us on that. I made the statement, you guys need to go home, be insiders, put it on your machine, and let us know if it doesn't work. Windows Store apps are compatible. If you have a modern application through the Windows Store or deployed in your enterprise, 8.1 applications will work fine in Windows 10, and that compatibility is assured as well. Again, if I'm wrong, I made this statement, if I'm wrong, let us know. That's that feedback loop. Because it's our responsibility, this is our expectation, and we need to get those things resolved. And then, of course, Internet Explorer 11 and the enterprise investments we delivered in the spring update in Windows 8.1 Update 1 will continue to exist and be enhanced as we look ahead to Windows 10. So the investments you're making moving to IE 11 in your business will carry forward in Windows 10. When you think about deployment options, tried and true still exists. Wipe and load. How many of you guys wipe and load your machines when you deploy a new box in your enterprise? Oh, wow, I thought everybody put their hand up. The world's changing. Wow, Helen, you're right, PCs are changing. Wipe and load is there though. Imaging, WIM, ImageX, all that technology is there, works great, know it, love it, adopt it, works great. But we've got another option in Windows 10 that we have worked very hard on as an organization to make sure that in-place upgrades from Windows 7 and Windows 8.1 will work and are viable for commercial customers. The ability to say, I have a Windows 10 client, or sorry, Windows 7 SP1 desktop, and I want to get it to Windows 10, I could run an in-place upgrade operation, and that customer will be moved to Windows 10 in a commercially ready, quality way. As a guy who owned Upgrade for many years in Windows, that's a big statement. And again, Windows Insider program, get the build, prove me wrong. Or better yet, say, wow, Mike was right. Oops, sorry, I got going too fast there. So, to review, consumers, they're up to date with features and security updates as they arrive. Mission critical systems, you get that enterprise class support. The capabilities you have today with WSUS and SCCM and other technology all exist. But now we've introduced this new concept of Windows Update for Business, where you can give your users a fast access to technology, but you have the control and time to test and manage that deployment of that capability by using Windows Update for Business. We expect you folks to choose the mix that makes sense for you folks. What makes sense for your business? We don't believe that it's one side of that equation or the other. You'll have a mix of all three, we think, as this model evolves. So consider your deployment approach. Learn what Windows as a Service means for you. Start thinking about that. Learn about and basically use feedback on Windows Update for Business. So continue giving us feedback. We're developing this concept as we go. What are the right maintenance windows? What are the right blockers? What are the things that would make it hard for you to adopt this? You know, we really want that feedback because we're constantly evolving our service to be more in demand and meet your needs better. And then start profiling your users. I've met with a number of customers that are already doing this, but if you haven't started, start profiling your users. Look across your infrastructure. And I think you'll find that not all systems look the same. That you're going to have users. I've met with a number of customers that have anywhere from 7 to 30 different profiles for users that they manage. And they're doing this today. So consider, you know, what makes sense for some of your users. Some of your users will be consumer views, some will be mission critical, and some will be in the middle. So let's talk a little bit about technical details. So I'm going to use the word branch here. This is really about development. The term branch is a source code branch, just like many of you may have in your IT projects. The active branch is the Windows Insider Preview branch is essentially, for those of you who've been around Microsoft a long time, that's WinMain. How many of you have heard the term WinMain before? Some of you, a few of you. Basically, it's just where 10,000 engineers code every day. Lots of people writing code and checking it in and managing it. And that's flighted internally as part of daily builds and then a part of weekly builds, as I described earlier. And it's where the insiders get, when you're an insider, you're actually getting builds off of this branch. Once a set of features, a collection of features reaches a quality level and a functionality level that's appropriate, and it's about every 4 months, about 3 times a year, we will declare a current branch. And essentially, we'll deliver those features to the broad market. Customers that are Woo attached through Windows Update will get those features right away. And basically, within that 4-month period, Windows Update for Business customers can actually have the ability to see and verify and validate those features before they're declared business ready. So this is an experience where now we're seeing hundreds of millions of users get access to those features and capabilities before it's declared business ready and the business has consumption requirements to manage. So it's a great opportunity to test and validate features. So then, once it's been out there for about 4 months or so, when it's reached a certain quality level and deployment level, we'll declare it as ready for business. And we'll declare a current branch for business. Business customers can start testing it as soon as the CB was released, the current branch previously was released, or they can wait till this point. And within the deferral window, at any point, they can roll that into their enterprise when their Windows attached. They could decide, I'm going to give it to some machines the day it's available. I'm going to give it to all my machines within that deferral window. You can flight these features within your enterprise. You can give it to customers. You can make sure you're ready to go. At this point, these features, keep in mind, have already been broadly deployed to hundreds of millions of machines. So what you're validating at this point is readiness for your business and your enterprise. It's your control. And then we also continue to deliver security updates to these devices. So in the time before you actually have deployed the next CBB, in that window you will still receive security updates, and those devices will still remain secure. So you don't have to be worried about being on an unsupported path until you consume the next CBB. Within that window, it's about 8 months, you have that full time to test and validate readiness for broad deployment, and you'll continue to receive security updates in that window. And of course, we have the tried and true long-term servicing branch. This is what we have today. Essentially, at some point, about every 2 to 3 years, we will declare a long-term servicing branch, or LTSB. This is what you would need for your mission-critical systems, your long-haul systems. This is what we have today with Windows 7 SP1 or Windows Server 2012 R2. These are LTSBs. Not a lot of active feature development. There's none, actually. They just get security updates. Windows 7 SP1 just gets security updates and critical fixes. It's really just about steady state business. But these customers don't get the latest features and capabilities. And this user base really does stagnate fairly quickly. So we think about LTSB as needed for mission critical. So what are your next steps? Like we talked about earlier, profile your users, think about how this is going to deploy, really put some thought into it, download the tech preview, put it in your lab, run it on your personal machine, test my premise that says your LOB apps will work. They're not going to break, and if they're broken, let us know, we'll fix them. Make sure it's right, because it's out there, it's usable. Sign up for the Windows Insider program. You can actually have machines. The advantage of being an insider is you don't have to go get a new build. We'll push it to you. When you're ready, if you're on the fast ring or the slow ring, when we release a build, it just magically installs on your machine. So chance if you have a machine, you want to stay up to date and see what we're up to, you have the opportunity to do that as part of the Windows Insider program. So we now have time for questions. If you have a question to ask, please go to a mic. If everyone would go to a mic, because this is being streamed live, the audio is, so we want to make sure we go to a mic.
Is there a cost to the Windows Update business?
No, it's related to the addition of Windows you have deployed or installed.
If you have 7 Pro?
If you have 7 Pro.
I'm sorry, 10 Pro.
10 Pro, right. So I don't know the specific edition matrix, I'm an engineer, but it is a Pro offering or an enterprise-like offering, and these will be offered to those editions, yeah. It's a specific entitlement of the edition itself. But Pro is a good example of an edition that would have access.
Okay.
And there's no additional cost to update for business. Yes, sir.
Hi. When will Windows 10 be released to manufacturing?
I'm sorry, what?
When will Windows 10 be released to manufacturing? When's it going to be available?
Huh? Summer, is that what we're saying? Summer.
Summer? Okay. Next question. Can I do an in-place upgrade from 32-bit Windows 7 to 64-bit Windows 10?
I get asked that question every time. No, and I'm sorry.
Okay.
We can't do cross-architecture upgrades.
Right. And I assume the same thing for going from BIOS to UEFI?
You can't do an in-place upgrade, but you can. So no. There's certain technological jumps that when we made those technological leaps, like 64-bit or BIOS to UEFI, that in-place upgrade doesn't work if you want the full capability of UEFI has to offer in that full move. So you're absolutely right. Now, the thing to be thoughtful about is the number of 32-bit machines in many enterprises is shrinking over time. So it is a real issue. I don't want to trivialize it. Where maybe 5 years ago there might have been when Windows 7 launched, it was probably 70-80% in the enterprise was 32-bit. We're now well below that. but you're right. It's a real issue
Right.
for some enterprises.
We're 90%.
And so wipe
32
and
bit.
load will still be a viable option. You're not out of luck. You lose that niceness. Who's next? Okay, go ahead.
Actually, just a couple questions. So, do you have an edition matrix to see what edition of Windows, Pro versus Enterprise, and what capabilities are offered through?
So there will be an edition matrix disclosed at some point in the future. Again, I don't own that. It's a business decision. But there will be, that matrix will exist related to enterprise programs. Are you asking a specific question about Windows Update for Business or just generally about the edition?
Well, generally about all this capability, because we're technically centered on Pro, and if this is all focused toward Enterprise, we're not going to have any play in this space.
No, the Windows Update for Business is for Pro customers.
Okay. The next question is, can you shed any light on Windows 10 licensing whatsoever?
I really can't. I mean, like specific questions, or I mean,
How will it be licensed? And like, for instance, the free upgrade that Microsoft is offering, is that only tailored toward retail customers, or does that also include volume license customers?
So I'm going to give you to our business person. Again, I'm an engineer, so I apologize.
That's okay. Me too.
But
Helen, can you guys hear me? So this morning, actually, we did a partner-facing webcast on Windows licensing. It'll be available in about 48 hours on MPN. And do you guys have access to MPN, Microsoft Partner Network? Yes, no, maybe? Anyway, we are making that available. Also, your account teams will have it. Will have additional information. So this information will start rolling out very quickly, which will talk about Windows 10 licensing and how you can do your business with Windows 10.
Okay. And so Windows Update for Business is a Pro and Enterprise type capability. That's not an edition statement. That's a user statement. And enterprise, we would hope enterprise customers deploying an Enterprise edition would connect to Windows Update for Business as well.
Okay.
For specific users. So this actually would be available in both matrices related to what we're talking about here today.
Perfect.
Where would you configure things like the deployment rings, the maintenance window, and the peer-to-peer configurations? Where is that configuration actually done?
So we're working on that right now. It'll be done through common management tools today. We don't have the detailed demo ready yet. We're very close, but it'll be done in your management infrastructure you do today. Just like you configure group policy, you configure other settings, your maintenance window and your allotment would be managed through those tools as well. I'm being a little hand wavy because we're still in the process of getting that final design, but that's exactly the direction we would go. Whatever tools you use today to configure systems would work identically.
So those would be Microsoft tools plus third-party tools, hopefully?
Absolutely, right.
Yeah.
There would be public interfaces like we have today.
So conceptually, the updates will come from Microsoft, but the policies that detail those updates will be from
you would
the configuration
configure
tool.
the client to behave a certain way when it comes to updating. That configuration, just like policy or other things you configure, will be managed via your management tools. But the actual client itself will behave as an autonomous thing once you set, based on the policy you set.
And that would also be true for the long-term business servicing branch?
Yes.
Those updates will also come from Microsoft?
They could.
They could, okay.
They could. They could. Again, we believe that most LTSB or long-term servicing branch customers, if it's mission critical, you don't want us touching it. That's why you define it as mission critical. If you look at this new model, we think you're going to be getting all your updates via WSUS or your management software because you're not going to want us to touch those machines.
But the option will be there if I trust you guys.
Because you trust us and we're so great,
Yeah.
you may decide. But I suspect that. But again, the rate of change of stuff you would get via Woo might not be appropriate for your mission critical environment. So that's a business decision you'd have to make.
Okay, thanks.
Guess we'll go back over here.
In terms of the peer-to-peer sharing of updates, is there any talk of looking at also managing updates to applications in that manner as well, so that way you don't have the network load when the Facebook app gets updated or something like that?
Everything related to Microsoft updates, so Moo, I'm a Woo guy, I'm a Windows update guy, but is being considered for those capabilities. Unfortunately, if it's not our service doing the delivery, it's a little bit of a challenge. But we are working on the things we deliver through our pipe and how do we network optimize that. And so we are working on that. Outside of our pipe, it gets a little harder, and I recognize that's a challenge.
And then to follow that up, would it be possible to manage the rings via AD groups, or is that being looked at all?
I'm sorry, manage the rings.
Manage the rings for updates and through business update through AD groups.
So yeah, I'm actually thinking like, that's how we're
Policy.
thinking about it. We're still
Okay.
closing on the design, but that's how we think
It was
about it.
his
So,
question.
yeah, no, that's how we're thinking about it.
Okay.
And what I don't know, will it be that plus something else? So I think when I'm an IT guy, I get what you're like. To me, that's where I start. Like, yes, this is just an AD thing. It's group policy. It's great. Then you go, is there more? And that's what we're working on. So your base level is right. How you're thinking about it.
Thank you.
Let's go back over here.
Hey, thanks. For the business model for Windows as a Service, how does that affect the CU updates for 2012 and 2012 R2? I noticed those update rollups have stopped. Will those pick back up for the actual product, the non-security update?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what the vision is there on that.
So we actually have a session this afternoon, and I actually have the number written down in my hand here. E354, Thierry's going to do a whole presentation after lunch on this very topic related to some changes we made recently in our servicing and what we're publishing. Yes.
All right, thanks.
How are you going to handle clients that are off network or not on during maintenance windows, their maintenance window? How would you circle back to those?
So we're working on that. I mean, the thing is, because usually security's at stake, if you're not able to get an update, and we'd love feedback on this. My belief is, and our belief in the design currently is, if you were not available during your maintenance window, the next time you're online, we will at least install the update and then ask you when's the appropriate time to reboot you, because security is at stake at that point. So if you didn't get the security update during your maintenance window because you're offline or on a submarine or wherever, right? You need to be able to get that update quickly. And we think their speed is more important than optimized within work schedule. But we're working through a lot of those details.
Gotcha.
And so, but we know we need to resolve that. But feedback appreciated. Please become an insider. Give us the feedback about what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, just a quick question around, can you separate out the critical security updates from the feature updates? In other words, we currently are on a 30-day cycle through software updates through SCCM for all security updates. Everything else is kind of...
So in Windows 10, all updates are cumulative. So no.
Okay, thank you.
So is one of the management routes for the rings and maintenance window ConfigMan, and if so, which version is the minimum?
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
So managing the maintenance windows and the rings, is one of those vehicles going to be ConfigMan, and if so, which version is going to be the minimum?
TBD. We're doing updates to those as we speak. TBD. We're working on what versions are appropriate. Again, we'd like feedback on what versions are appropriate. Work through your feedback channel, like what version makes most sense. We have deployment numbers on different versions, but we need to know what do we need to support to be realistic here.
R2 SP1.
Okay.
Okay.
Quick follow-up on the earlier question. We have about a third of our users who are literally never online. They work remotely 100% of the time, except for when they connect by VPN. So in that case, would they still use the normal Windows Update, or is there a way to do that with the Windows Update for Business?
You could have them use Windows Update for Business, because the policies, as long as you have a chance to get the client configuration, that client configured for. So if you own the machine that's at your worker's house, if you can get the policy on that machine, the service will honor your policy.
So it'll just use the internet to do the update then? Okay.
And so you could do that if you wanted to, absolutely.
Okay.
But they just come via Woo. So.
Since Office is going to be using the same model for how it releases updates, doing the branches and every 4 months and so on, will you be coordinating your branch release dates with them? So
should we?
Yes, you should. Yeah.
That was a loaded question. I figured everyone would like applaud and be like, so yeah, we're working hard with the Office guys to be in lockstep. Maybe in my 14 years of Windows for the first time ever. So yeah, we know the needs to try to do our best to get those in lockstep.
Regarding the peer-to-peer, what restrictions can you put on that? Because I don't want my machines in Chicago to peer to machines in South America.
Obviously, we're not ready to disclose all the details of how the network optimization features will work. We're working on it. It can't be peer-to-peer if you're peering off of the thing in Malaysia for the thing in Chicago. That's recognized in the design. Again, it's part of we're trying to get this whole management picture. We want to be able to present an all-up story on the management piece, and we're just not ready yet. I mean, it's the advantage of being in active development, taking feedback, and doing that evolution. So, yes?
How would the reporting work with Windows Update for Business? Do I still use SCCM to get all my audit information back?
So yes. So if you have audit and compliance requirements, so for those of you who don't know, he's asking about security audit or compliance reasons. He has to audit his network. Probably a lot of you guys have to do that, and that would still be done using the tools you use today. Okay. Now we're working on making it so there's no WSUS data sync requirement. So you could just pull the data into your network and actually just leverage it via SCCM or whatever tool you use. There's third parties that do that as well. There's a Microsoft Security Analyzer and other technology. That should just work as you do today. We don't want Windows Update for Business to be a deployment blocker. It shouldn't add more complexity. You manage systems today, you plug a Windows 10 system into it. It just happens to get its updates via Windows Update for Business, but all your other management, day-to-day business can be managed how you do today. And we're hoping with less complexity and cost over time.
One follow-up is with Office 365 Pro Plus, the vision there was when 2016 comes out, it's just a monthly service update. Is that the same for Windows? So whenever say Windows 11 comes out or any milestone, it'll just be rolled out that way?
Certainly we'll have feature updates rolled out on a regular cadence. As far as the future, what it holds with what does it mean for some future version of Windows, I don't have a comment there. But at a base level, certainly feature enhancements will come on a regular cadence on a regular basis.
Okay. Hi. Have you been looking into using AMT vPro, AMT to integrate it with SCCM to wake up more?
I'm not familiar with that one. Are you?
Oh, okay.
I don't have enough information on that. I'm not familiar with that one. So, but maybe talk afterwards. We can follow up and get more information. Any other questions? Only about half of you guys. Oh, there's one other one. Come on up.
I'll ask another. First of all, since you said the licensing details were announced, is there a session on that by any chance?
They're not announced yet. We are working. We are starting to roll out licensing details this week, next week, so you guys will start seeing it come through.
Got
So
you.
work with your account reps. That's where I'd start. Talk with your account guys because they're going to be getting the information in real time over the next couple of weeks.
Got you. And my actual question was, there's a session this afternoon called Getting Ready for Windows 10, Servicing Windows Client and Server. Is that similar to this? Should I still attend that? Are there more details there?
You're going to Terry, you want to promote your own session? So Terry will be doing that session.
Yeah, so that session just after lunch is about what you can do today with existing versions of Windows and existing management infrastructures to start changing your process and your policies so it looks very much like what Windows 10 will look like. So it's begin to adjust how you adopt, etc. We'll cover roll-ups, monthly roll-ups, etc. We'll cover all the types of updates we do, as well as what we recommend you do in your environment to be ready for Windows 10.
All right, thanks.
Well, that session may just answer my question, which has to do with if you get on the Windows Insider programming, you're taking the releases and everything, do you eventually roll into RTM? Okay.
Yep. Actually, you roll into RTM, but then the Insider keeps going. So you get RTM, but then you're going to just keep going because Insiders always get new stuff faster than everybody. That's the Windows as a service. You're just getting the service stuff faster. Okay? Thank you for your time and attention. Have a great show.